Bill Nye here. Let's talk about why it's so bone-chillingly cold outside right now, and why this winter feels so much more intense than usual. If you've stepped outside lately, you've probably felt that biting wind and the kind of cold that seems to cut right through your jacket. But, what's really going on in the atmosphere to make it this frigid? Across the eastern United States, cities and towns are blanketed in snow, and temperatures are dropping to levels we haven't seen in years. From bustling urban centers to quiet rural communities, everyone is feeling the effects of this deep freeze. It's February 2nd, 2026, and this isn't your average winter cold. This is the kind of weather that makes headlines, closes schools, and has people swapping stories about the last time it was this cold. Streets are quieter, and the usual hustle and bustle has slowed as people hunker down indoors. We're in a deep freeze, with temperatures plunging far below normal from the Great Plains all the way to the Atlantic coast. Thermometers are showing numbers that make you do a double take, and even the hardiest winter veterans are bundling up in extra layers. The cold isn't just uncomfortable, it's breaking records and putting a real strain on daily life. This isn't just a cold snap, it's a major event affecting millions of people. Commuters are facing icy roads and delayed trains, families are digging out from heavy snow, and emergency crews are working around the clock to keep everyone safe. The sheer scale of this cold wave is something we'll be talking about for years to come. So, what's behind this Arctic blast? The answer is something you might have heard about before, the polar vortex. But what exactly is it, and why does it have such a dramatic impact on our weather? The polar vortex is a powerful system of winds high above us, circling the Arctic like a giant atmospheric barrier. When it's strong, it keeps the coldest air locked up near the North Pole. But when it weakens or gets disrupted, it can unleash frigid air masses that plunge far to the south, bringing Arctic conditions to places that usually don't see them. Understanding this helps us see how interconnected and dynamic our climate really is. Weather patterns thousands of miles away can have a direct impact on what we experience in our own backyards. It's a reminder that our planet's atmosphere is a complex, ever-changing system. Over the next few minutes, we'll unravel the science behind this epic chill. We'll break down how the polar vortex works, what causes it to shift, and why these events seem to be happening more often in recent years. We'll also look at how scientists track these patterns and what they're learning about our changing climate. We'll explore what the polar vortex is in detail, how it forms, and why it's such a key player in winter weather across North America. We'll dig into why it sometimes lets Arctic air escape, sending those icy blasts our way, and what triggers these dramatic shifts in the jet stream. And we'll see how all of this is shaping our winter, affecting everything from snowfall totals to how long this cold spell might last. We'll also talk about what you can do to stay safe and warm during extreme cold events like this. We'll also look back at January's wild weather, which set the stage for what we're experiencing now. From record-breaking snowstorms to sudden temperature drops, it's been a month to remember. And we'll peek ahead at what February might bring. Will the cold continue, or is there a thaw on the horizon? We'll check out the latest forecasts and what meteorologists are predicting for the weeks ahead. Plus, we'll share some tips for staying comfortable and safe during these extreme conditions, from dressing in layers to keeping your home warm and energy efficient. So grab some cocoa, bundle up, and let's dive into the science of this winter's deep freeze. Whether you're a weather enthusiast or just trying to make sense of the cold, you're in the right place. Ready? Let's get started. Scene transition. What exactly is the polar vortex? You might have heard the term tossed around during news reports of extreme cold snaps, but what does it really mean? Is it a monster storm, a blizzard, or something else entirely? Let's break it down. First, it's not as scary as it sounds. The polar vortex isn't a single storm or a weather event you can see coming down your street. Instead, it's a huge invisible system that quietly influences our winters every year. Imagine a giant spinning top of icy air swirling high above the North Pole. This mass of frigid air is always there, circling the pole like a frozen crown. It's surrounded by a powerful, fast-moving river of air called the polar jet stream, which acts like a fence, keeping the coldest air trapped up north. This jet stream is like a high-speed barrier, wrapping around the polar vortex and holding the cold in place. When the jet stream is strong and stable, it keeps the icy air locked away, far from most of us. That's why during some winters we experience milder temperatures. Even if it's still chilly, it's nothing compared to what's happening at the top of the world. The polar vortex is doing its job, and the cold stays put. But here's the twist. The polar vortex isn't something you'll spot on your daily weather app. It's a high-altitude phenomenon, spinning quietly above us, shaping the weather patterns we feel on the ground. It's like the director behind the scenes of a winter play. When the vortex is stable and strong, we barely notice it. Life goes on, and winter feels normal, maybe even pleasant at times. But sometimes, the polar vortex weakens. The jet stream starts to wobble and dip, no longer able to hold back the Arctic air. This is when things get interesting and cold. When the guard is down, the cold air escapes its polar prison and surges southward. Suddenly, places that are usually just chilly are plunged into deep freezes, with icy winds and snowstorms sweeping across entire continents. These dramatic dips in the jet stream open the door for Arctic air to spill into North America, Europe, and Asia. That's why you might wake up to record-breaking cold, even if you live far from the Arctic Circle. This is the real story behind those sudden bone-chilling cold snaps, like the February freeze we're experiencing now. It's not random, it's the polar vortex at work. The way the polar vortex behaves is the key to understanding why our winters can swing from mild and manageable to wild and extreme in just a matter of days. So, next time you hear the words polar vortex, don't think of it as a villain. Instead, picture it as the gatekeeper of winter's cold, sometimes holding it back, sometimes letting it loose, and always shaping the story of our seasons. Scene transition. So, what happens when the jet stream, the Arctic gatekeeper, gets wobbly? Imagine the jet stream as a fast-moving river of air high above us, separating frigid polar air from the milder air to the south. Normally, it flows in a relatively straight path, keeping the coldest air locked up in the Arctic. But sometimes, this river starts to snake and bend, losing its strength and stability. The jet stream starts to meander, forming deep troughs and ridges. These dramatic bends can stretch thousands of miles, creating huge dips and peaks across the continent. When a trough digs southward, it acts like a giant open door, inviting Arctic air to spill far beyond its usual boundaries. These troughs act like open gates, letting huge masses of Arctic air surge south. The cold air, usually trapped near the pole, is suddenly unleashed, racing down into the United States and bringing a blast of winter with it. This isn't just a quick chill, it can last for days or even weeks, affecting millions of people. That's exactly what's happening in the eastern US right now. Cities from the Midwest to the Atlantic coast are shivering under a relentless wave of cold, with snow and ice, making daily life a challenge. News reports are filled with stories of record lows and winter storms. A deep trough has set up over the region, funneling cold air from the Arctic straight into the heart of the country. This setup is like a conveyor belt, delivering wave after wave of frigid air. The result? Prolonged cold snaps, icy roads, and a winter that just won't quit. Meanwhile, the west is warmer than usual, thanks to ridges in the jet stream. These ridges act like protective domes, blocking cold air and allowing sunshine and mild temperatures to dominate. While the east bundles up, the west enjoys an early taste of spring. The result? A dramatic, prolonged cold spell for the east, with below-average temperatures lasting for weeks. People are layering up, schools are closing, and energy demands are spiking as everyone tries to stay warm. It's a winter to remember, and it's all thanks to the jet stream's wild ride. The freezer door is open and we're standing right in front of it. Every gust of wind feels like it's straight from the Arctic, and the chill seems to seep into your bones. For many, it's a reminder of just how powerful and unpredictable our atmosphere can be. This setup is classic for a memorable and very cold winter month. It's the kind of weather that makes headlines, fills photo albums, and becomes the stuff of neighborhood stories for years to come. The weather is all connected, and the jet stream is the highway for these changes. What happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. It can ripple out, shaping weather patterns thousands of miles away. Understanding the jet stream helps us predict and prepare for these dramatic shifts. That's why this winter feels so extreme. The jet stream's vacation has left the freezer door wide open, and we're all feeling the chill. Scene transition. Let's dig into why the polar vortex is weakening. The main trigger, a sudden stratospheric warming or SSW. This is a rapid warming event high in the stratosphere above the North Pole. Temperatures can jump by 90-degree bounds in just days. This warming disrupts the polar vortex, slowing and destabilizing the jet stream. The effect trickles down, breaking the containment of Arctic air. That's why we're in a deep freeze now. The SSW set off a chain reaction. It's a dramatic example of how events miles above us can change our weather on the ground. Scene transition. January 2026 set the stage for this February freeze. A major winter storm swept from the Midwest to the southeast, dropping feet of snow and coating regions in ice. Millions lost power, and tragically, dozens lost their lives. A stark reminder of winter's dangers. The cold even reached Florida, breaking records and causing unusual side effects. Major cities like New York were buried in snow, while the polar vortex, displaced over Canada, funneled cold air south. Now, with the vortex weakening further, February's cold is even more persistent. January was just the warm-up act for what's shaping up to be a historic winter. The stage is set for more cold and more storms. The atmosphere is primed for action. The scene transition. Extreme weather brings wild stories. In Florida, cold-stunned iguanas fell from trees, a bizarre sign of the chill. Up north, power outages left millions battling the cold, while communities pulled together for warmth and safety. And for kids, snow days turned cities into playgrounds, offering moments of joy amid the storm. These stories show how big atmospheric changes impact our daily lives, from falling lizards to snowball fights. Scene transition. The winter storms didn't just bring cold, they hammered the coast with powerful nor'easters. In late January, a massive nor'easter slammed the southeast, bringing historic snow and battering the Outer Banks. The relentless surf claimed another beach house in Buxton, a stark warning about coastal erosion and rising sea levels. Since 2020, dozens of homes have been lost here, and the risk is only growing. The same atmospheric setup causing our deep freeze is fueling these coastal storms. It's all part of the same dramatic weather pattern. Scene transition. That nor'easter didn't stop in the Carolinas, it charged up the coast toward New England. By February 1st, Massachusetts to Maine braced for heavy snow and damaging winds. Coastal flooding and power outages were major concerns, especially with the deep freeze already in place. The storm's journey shows how weather systems evolve, riding the wavy jet stream from south to north. What started as snow in the Carolinas became a blizzard threat for Boston. It's all part of the same atmospheric chess game. The storm's path leaves a trail of winter's fury up the coast. Scene transition. So, what's next? The cold pattern isn't going away soon. The weakened polar vortex and wavy jet stream mean more Arctic air is likely for the eastern U.S. through February. Expect recurring cold spells, with waves of frigid air and the potential for more storms. The sharp contrast between cold land and warm ocean fuels storm development, so stay alert for snow and ice. This winter is a powerful lesson in atmospheric science, how events high above can shape our lives below. So, keep your hats and gloves handy, stay curious, and remember, science is always cool. Stay warm, stay safe, and keep watching the weather. End.